Yes, hello. I am James Rowlands, and today it's the WNR549, and it's NXT update. I'm not alone. I have a pleasure to be joined by a resident NXT expert and New Japan demigod. It is Monty. How's it going, man?
Hey, what's up? What's up? It's going great. Always excited to be back. You know, back in my comfort zone. At this point, I know I always said it's like my baby, but NXT is like that comfort zone. Way more casual to me. From a reviewing standpoint, you can just sit back and watch, and I think hopefully that's what everybody who's listening gets a chance to do today. Just sit back, let us, talk your ear off for a little bit, and review and catch up. But yeah, man, I'm always excited to be here for NXT.
Yeah, we're glad to have you. And again, everybody loves NXT update. There's no doubt about it. One of the staples of the WNR podcast for 10 years now.
Long time.
Crazy. I mean, man, you've been doing it for like 5. So come on. And again, speaking of 5, we've got 5 NXTs and Vengeance Day predictions. And yet we fall on a time now where we are just a couple hours away from Vengeance Day. So what a perfect time,
Yeah, man. Perfect time. That's what I'm saying. Right on track, to get into a big event, and like you mentioned, man, 5 years, does not seem like it's been 5 years, but it has. And so I don't know how, I don't want to offend you and say I feel old. But yeah, man, this is great. Like you said, at this point, it's not only is this a staple, but this reminds me, being so set up perfectly to lead right into Vengeance Day reminds me of some of those episodes where we had to review like 7 shows. Great time.
I knew you'd bring that up. Like I said, we used to have like 5 of 5, NXT UKs and NXTs, but we got through that. We got through the 2.0 era as well. So we are here right now, So, and again, it should be good times. Let's see how NXT was. And you called me old. You were reviewing NXT with me when Samoa Joe was there. So come on, man.
Now that's old.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's old. That's a good point. I mean, we was here before Von Wagner and after. Like we've seen a lot.
Yeah, he doesn't return, eh? Yeah. Anyway, let's get to it then. So we're going to start with January 14th, and we did have New Year's Evil, which seems a long time ago, but like we said, we are going to catch up. And NXT started off with Obafemi coming out to celebrate winning the NXT Championship. He said from day one, he was backed by Destiny to do everything he has accomplished. He said the ring belongs to him, and he will rule how he sees fit. He put over Trick Williams and mocked Eddie Thorpe before Tony D showed up. He congratulated him with his win, but reminded him that he owes a win over him. I knew he was going to say that. Rich Holland came out and got into a fight with Tony D. Femi was attacked from behind by Thorpe with a leather strap even, which I thought would likely mean for a match between the two. We'll get on to that. But for me at this point, I was like, after winning the title, Oba, after we remained about last month, has turned into Trick. he came out and it's like, oh, they've made another bland babyface champion, for fuck's sake. But nice accent, though, I will say, for Moba.
Yeah, man. It's kind of funny how immediately, as soon as you get that belt, you lose at least a little bit of cool factor. But he picked the beautiful thing about Oba is he's so intimidating that even if he did lose a little bit of cool factor, I'm not arguing with him about nothing he said in that promo, because the way, just the energy and the way he came out and basically was like, yep, well, this NXT is mine now. Who's arguing with it? So that's the one thing Oba has going for him right now, but you're 100% right. We'll see if NXT can keep that. And I mentioned this. I told you this with Trick Williams was kind of losing steam. A lot of times you're only as strong as your contenders. And I like Eddie Thorpe. You know I do. I know he's trained New Japan Dojo. But come on, man. I don't think I need to say much else to it.
If he was in a tank instead of having a strap, then like you said, I might back him. But like you said, Obafemi is my captain as well. But be interested to see how that unfolds. Number 1 contendership for the women's North American title was decided in a match between Shotzi and Stephanie Vaquer. Fatal Influence showed up and caused some chaos, allowing Fallon Henley to hit Steph with a title. Shotzi didn't seem to see what happened and ended up with the winning the match with a roll-up. She looked upset when she saw Fatal Influence in the aisle. All I'm going to say, Shotzi, is make the most of the win. That's all I'm going to say at that point. But again, it was nice to see Shotzi mix it up with Stephanie, obviously, because they're NXT, but it's different, isn't it, Monty? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. Two different eras, or at least especially from our point of view of watching, being able to see everything. Shotzi is, at least one or two eras behind what we're kind of in now, at least with theoretically. But with her injury history and everything she's been through, it was amazing to see her. And if you really look at the match, they actually seem to be doing pretty well, or had pretty good chemistry. But the cheapness of the finish is one of those things that you kind of got to deal with. But I guess on one hand, it was cheap. On the other hand, they're so afraid of Stephanie, and proved by, I don't know if you saw what happened after this match, but like in between commercial break, if you're watching on like network television or the CW over here, the commercial break, I think they probably showed this all on Netflix. I'm not sure, but Stephanie definitely had made me understand why they seem to be afraid of her, as she kind of chased them down backstage after this. So that at least made it cool after this. But it was great to see Shotzi, like you said, back in the ring after going through everything she's been through.
Yeah, right, Adele. Mr. Stone doesn't do much, but he was rightfully manhandled by Obafemi. Ethan Page beat Dante Chen. Page crushed Chen's uncle between the steps in the ring when it was over. Javon Evans came out and attacked Page, but just one shot to his injured jaw put him down. Petrovic and Adonis are official. Right. Jakara Jackson, Lash Legend reaction against Alba Fire and Isla Dawn. This match is determined the number one contendership for the women's titles. Jackson Legend scored the win in a really competitive match. But I put the point, Sean seems to know what he's doing. Unfortunately, Monty, like I said, this was the last time Isla Dawn would be featured in NXT. And it's a shame, because I really do think they dropped the ball with her, because I don't think there's much wrong.
I'm with you. I don't really know. Like I said, even with like Blair, for example, I love Blair. Even with Blair, I mentioned her injury and kind of having to change her style, and possibly not having enough for them from a character point of view. Even though, to be fair to Blair, I don't think she got a fair shake to show anybody any of that either. But with Isla, I mean, I was like, well, maybe it's an age thing, because I know Alba is a veteran. I'm like, Isla, but Isla is like what, early 30s, 31. So it's like, okay, what is the excuse? What is the thought process of getting rid of Isla Dawn? And I really do think, to be fair, the thing is that when you're as big as WWE, when you have so many women and new women coming in all the time, it really is really interesting to me. Is it like, do they feel like it's hard? They wouldn't even, for example, we love Mercedes. Mercedes is doing some of her best work right now, but Mercedes Moné, WWE felt like they can replace, or they'll be fine without talent like that. But who am I to ever be like, when they do something like this, they're gonna really regret this? You know what I mean? Just like,
that's true,
that's kind of the issue when you think about it. Sometimes from their point of view, of like, well, they're the biggest platform. There's always gonna be women wanting to join or work out. So they always probably kind of in the back of their mind feel like they can replace anybody. But it's really a shame, though, like you mentioned, because not only I feel like they dropped the ball with Isla individually, because let's say the Unholy Union has run its course in their mind. You cannot tell me you couldn't come up with something individually. And then we talk about these mid-card titles. There's just so much stuff they left on the table theoretically for Isla Dawn. So it's really frustrating, man. I'm definitely gonna miss her, but she's gonna do fine. She's gonna be popping up in another one of these promotions before you know it, and hopefully they'll be able to showcase her the way she's worthy, what she's worthy of. And also, it makes you wonder, like, will we get a Kaylee Ray type of repackage for Alba? Or is Alba doomed, and we're just waiting on the bell to toll in that case for her? Because we know what she's capable of and who she is. So very interesting. But yeah, man, it's kind of sad when you look back at this.
Yeah, one thing about I said Alba Fire, what's crazy is, the NXT combines throughout the year. She holds most of the records. So I don't know if it's a case of, and maybe, like you said, with her experience, she'll go into more of a coaching role. But again, even for tag teams with, like, you know what I mean? I know the NXT women's tag division hasn't been a thing now for a little while, but even like depth of teams, and you can't seem to have more than like 3 or 4 at kind of any one time as well. And again, the other thing I thought was maybe Isla Dawn's character is a bit too close to like Tatum Paxley or, like Wendy Chu or something like that. But I used to love Isla Dawn's box. Anyway, better move on. Kalani Jordan versus Cora Jade next. And Masha Slamovich was shown in a crowd with the Impact Women's title. And we had a statement as well, because WWE, part of TCO Group Holders and TNA Wrestling, they have announced a multi-year partnership aimed at creating unprecedented crossover opportunities within WWE and TNA programming for NXT superstars and TNA wrestling stars. The agreement will enable talent to garner additional exposure across key programming, blah, 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 blah. But again, the announcement was made. This was really good stuff because we did talk about it. It went a little bit quiet. We were worried, but now a multi-year deal between TNA and NXT.
Yeah, man. I think again, it's one of those things that they've already kind of showed. Maybe earlier with the Joe Hendry stuff and all that stuff. That was like a test trial, but I think they already can see the value in having Impact. In bed. I've already seen the naysayers who say this is just a precursor for WWE taking them over, and I'm just like, I feel like they all under the TKO banner, so they could have just dissolved Impact already if they wanted to do that. But I don't know. I don't know what the future holds. You never know. But what I will say is that based on what I've already seen them do and how they've been using it, not only in the Royal Rumble, but just, for example, I think our next match is going to be like a Cora Jade match. Cora Jade has been working in Impact at least a couple of weeks, I know. So, having matches. So, it just seems like an incredible, or at least a genius way of letting a lot of these young talents get more experience, and then not only that, you're going to get Impact people getting more exposure for themselves, and possibly leading to maybe joining NXT or doing cool stuff in general. And like I said, I think sometimes we get wrestling fans are so jaded now because we're just so spoiled and we get cool stuff all the time. I like to look at it from the perspective of when the old man was running it, they wouldn't even, Impact never existed. So I do kind of like that at least we have the option to do cool things like this, even if it's just, even if I don't know exactly how long it could be in its current incarnation. But again, I think it's just very cool because again, it's just not only are you allowing people a lot of experience, but you're also allowing the veterans from Impact spotlight and just more opportunities for us to just see really cool things happen between the two companies. And hopefully this can lead to, because now that we know it's an official partnership, hopefully we can actually get maybe a Worlds Collide or some type of actual like payoff more than just a girl or a guy popping up here and there.
Yeah, right. Well, we're going to speak more about the crossovers between the two in a little bit, but back to NXT. In the main event of this week's show, saw Fraxium defend the titles against Bronco Nima and Lucien Price. For the match, challengers got to fight backstage, but it didn't seem to do much damage. DIY was showing watching from the crow's nest. Don't tease me like that. In the end, the champions were able to rally. Fraser put Nima through the announce table, was sent on, while Axiom hit Price with finisher for the win. This was a great David versus Goliath style bout. I mean, seriously, Monty, how many times have I said to you on an NXT update now, Fraxium are the best? Like, they just keep delivering.
It's weird. It's just it's unbelievable. They really do. And I know the unfortunate thing is tag teams that come from NXT don't have a great track record. And the good thing about this tag team is I think both of us can see both guys being good individuals on the main roster, or at least possible being good individually on the main roster. So I'm not really worried about their future. But they also could work, in my opinion, if they got called up as a team, and that's just how good they are. And I think the Wrestling Observer, I know it's a fan voted thing, but the Wrestling Observer voted the Young Bucks as the tag team of the year somehow, and I'm just like, you guys don't watch NXT. That's just all that means to me because there's nobody better than them, and this is perfect proof of it. I mean, no offense to OTM, but so far in their career as a tag team, they haven't been able to show me much, but this is by far their best showing. And like you mentioned, it's because of the psychology of the David and Goliath and the big team versus the small team and how good Axiom and Frazier are at selling. So, yeah, man, this is one of the best matches of definitely the best matches of OTM career so far. And it's just another day at the office for what we're used to from Axiom. So, yeah, man, we get spoiled. And I honestly don't know what we've done to kind of deserve how good they are as a team. Because I don't even think Sean, or I don't see how you can think, because we've seen this before, John. You can put two good wrestlers together, and that does not mean you finna have a great team. So for them to be as good as they are is just not only a credit to who they are as individual wrestlers, but just how much they seem to figure it out as a team too.
Yeah, and again, not to speak about Fraxham too much, but Fraser, maybe an Axiom not the best on the mic, and also Axiom is wearing a mask, and yet we get so much from them where it comes from, like language in the ring and a relationship, which is a lot more than a lot of other things that I can remember. So again, it's just really, really good stuff. Before the final segment, a mystery person was shown arriving backstage. We saw Roxanne Perez come to close the show with a promo addressing her future following NXT title loss. Says she's proud to help and make the NXT the best women's division in pro wrestling. And then all of a sudden, Bayley showed up to surprise Perez. She tried to give her a bit of pep talk, but ended to get in a fight right as the show went off the air. And again, Bayley showing up. We have seen this before with other talent, but why not? And again, with Roxanne Perez, there is history there.
Yeah, man. It's funny how many people who are in that performance center have like those fan meet photos with somebody like Bayley. And also, it's just cool because I always say this, man, but it always seems to show up when the Four Horsewomen especially shows up. Like I think we'll see it in a few episodes later, even a little to an extent with Charlotte. Like that when they come back, like Becky did, when they come back, man, it feel like they are celebrities down there in their own stomping ground, or not just that, like you really feel like they WWE superstars. I don't know if some of that is just direction, or they really just happy to see people who they watch in their early stages really coming to their own. So I always liked it. But yeah, this is cool. It's a history there, but it also just shows you. I feel like a lot of times we've seen it, like you mentioned, in the history of this, even with Tiffany to an extent. Whenever an NXT talent start working with someone who's a respected main roster talent, clear the way, because you're probably going to get that rocket and you're probably getting called up not too long from now. We saw it with Lyra. We've seen it with Tiffany. And, here we are now with Roxanne, who obviously deserves it. And, Roxanne is also, she's fought Asuka. She's been in this spot before, so she's a unique case of just being basically, it's kind of like with Braun Breaker. Like, when are you going to get called up, and when is the next chapter? It's not about how, because we know it's going to happen.
And again, this is the thing, we've been watching Roxanne Perez and maybe question it, but if you look, like we talked about at the Royal Rumble show, she already had 3 Royal Rumble appearances. What a run she had with the NXT Women's title already. It's just when she gets up there, when will she win the title? A bit like Tiffany Stratton, I suppose. Did speak about TNA earlier. January 19th was TNA Genesis, and we saw Ashante Lee Adonis issue an open challenge. I mean, come on. Did we think we see Adonis? Why didn't we have? I mean, Jake something answered the call and beat him. But why didn't we see an interaction between him and AJ Francis? Hey, guys, come on. I'm giving it to you there. Fraction showed up. They will face the Rascals.
Forgot about Hero.
Yeah, exactly. We're moving on from it. Fraction will face the Rascals on a live Impact. More of that in a bit. And we are so close to the Hardys versus Fraction. And then Cora Jade, as you mentioned, challenged Masha for a later date. Back to NXT, January 21st. Corey Graves said he is right where he wants to be. So I guess this is his way of possibly dispelling some rumors that he might have said, and I fell for this because I was like, it's a work, man. I've been here so long, but no, apparently Graves thought he'd just tweet saying, and again, he's back in NXT. He's happy, like Monty. That's the important thing.
Sure he is. That sounds like a man to me who got a nice stern phone call or something. That's what it sounds like to me. I'm with you. Initially, I was thinking maybe because again, it just kind of came out of nowhere. Like people get reply. I mentioned this when we talked about it off air. Like people get replaced all the time. I literally gave Wade Barrett my commentator of the year because he's been asked to do so many different jobs and hats, and sometimes he's on the main show, sometimes he's not. Sometimes you have to fill in for Pat. Sometimes you are full time, and then Pat just swoops in, or somebody just swoops in, and it's their turn. It happens, and I never really heard anybody go to social media and have something to say about it. Even Booker T was like, "Nah, me and Corey, we not good after that." I'm just like, oh, this got to be a work, right? Why are you saying this too? But it's like, who knows? Maybe a little bit of truth there. Maybe he got a little bit of somebody talked to him and told him, we need some professionalism. But I get it. A lot of fans were sympathetic to Corey because you were basically the second commentator, basically, if you're going out, like you were basically behind Michael Cole, or if not, you were right behind Pat. And now you're in NXT. And as much
Wade
as
did
they
the Rumble. Yeah, I will
right.
that.
Wade did the Rumble, exactly. Wade has basically usurped him in that thought. And I love Wade, so I think he deserves it. So it's just one of those weird things. But to complain about it, I was like, well, maybe Corey, because I did hear stuff about Corey trying to talk to doctors so he can get like an Edge or a Bryan Danielson going on. But who knows? This could still go that way. But now I'm leaning toward, he like you said, he tweeted something out. Maybe thought he can get some people, asking for him to get his spot back. I don't know what he may have thought, but either way it goes, he's in NXT now, and I'm gonna be honest with you, he kind of screwed up the chemistry a little bit. Not that I don't like Corey, it's just Booker and Vic it's kind of like with Wade and Vic. Like Vic and a one partner just seem to be the best way to go because the chemistry is there and the banter and all of that. But I'm not gonna go. It's not horrible. Don't get me wrong. It's just how it is with 3-man teams. I think I was getting used to just having two. So yeah, 3-man can be awkward. Even on AEW, sometimes I get annoyed with 3-man, but they have a better chemistry than I think Corey and Vic and Booker does. So I don't know. We'll see how long it lasts, how this goes. But that was a very interesting few days there.
Yeah, well, it just made me laugh because Booker doesn't really breathe, does he, in his commentary? So again, it is quite difficult sometimes for someone to kind of jump in there. But we'll see what happens. Like I said, I've got no problems with Corey if he wants to play a heel commentator, but obviously at the moment, and especially with SmackDown, I think it was last night, Joe not being there and Vic Joseph filling in. You just think, Corey maybe, maybe at the moment, just, Anyway, we'll find out what happens. I'm looking forward to the shoot interview in about 5 years' time. Like, that would be great. Anyway, the first match of the night for this NXT was the North American Championship. Tony D defended the belt against Ridge Holland. Sean Spears showed up and Tony D seemed to allow him to get in his head, which led Holland to take over. Izzy Dame interfered on Tony D's behalf while a brawl was breaking at ringside. He kicked Holland in the face, allowing the champ to pin and retain the title. At the time, I was just like, poor Tony D, but this is going to lead to something. So I suppose that's something. But again, Ridge is just like, how are you still here, man? And I'm not saying I want everybody released. You know what I mean? But he's a big man. That's maybe.
There you go. That's your answer. Because that's the only thing I got for you. So he's a wide brother. Because I don't have anything else for you to explain what's going on, man. And honestly, bro, this is just another microcosm of my problem. A lot of times, as much as I love the NXT in a lot of ways, and I think it's a lot of positive, and we are cooking in a lot of ways. I know a lot of people talk about NXT and say NXT has been cooking. But you can't look at the North American title scene and compare it to the past and be excited with what you've been seeing. And like this match is a perfect example of it. I don't tune into NXT looking forward to a Tony D'Angelo Ridge Holland one-on-one match. You know what I'm saying? Especially for a title. Yeah. So yeah, man, I'm glad it was okay, I guess, decent. But most of the time you're just sitting there waiting for it to be over. So I'm thankful that it wasn't really a long match. But yeah, man, I really, this is one of those times where I question, like, Sean, like, what the hell are you doing with these main titles, or at least in particular this one? If you want to say it's too early for the Obafemi situation, we'll get into that later, get into more of that. But with Tony D's title, at least in this particular moment at the time, I was not feeling what they're doing, and honestly, it just made me. I wrote down, like, at the time, I wrote down where, man, I miss Wesley.
Well, speaking of Wesley,
and I don't mean this version of Wesley. I mean North American.
No, but you set it up brilliantly, Lo. Because Wesley was backstage, right? And Trick Williams slapped the shit out of him. How good was that? Speaking of Wesley. Trick slapping the shit out of him.
I was sore for him, by the way. It had a sound effect, and oh my gosh, bro. I don't know what to say. Oh. Yeah, that's why I said I'm talking about Wesley with hair. This new Wesley.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't know. He should still have Trick handprint on his face.
Yeah. Oh my God. Anyway, Bayley came to the ring. She talked a lot about her history in NXT and how she cares about Roxanne Perez. But it wasn't Perez who interrupted her. It was Julia. Said she respected Bayley, but it didn't take long for Perez to show up with her BFF Cora Jade. This particularly turned to a fight with Bayley and Julia, send them out the ring. They continued fighting during a break. The officials tried to break them at the same time as the fight was breaking out in the women's locker room. And the good thing is, speaking of the difference of Netflix for watching a network, if I watch a replay the day after, I do get picture-in-picture. So I do get more wrestling than ever. So I actually saw that brawl. So I know you mentioned it earlier. So that's a good thing with Netflix, unless you're catching it a couple of days and then they just cut it out.
Okay, cool. That's great because, like I mentioned, it was pretty cool to watch Stephanie intimidate basically everybody backstage looking for Fallon Henley. So it's cool to see little things like that. I don't know how often they're going to do certain things, but that's one of the cool ways to lose picture in picture because I usually don't stand the commercials much, or like if I can skip it, I will, or if I die, I'll change it. So that one was rarely picture in picture keeps me locked in. But that one really was like, oh Lord, I gotta watch this.
So without a doubt.
You gotta, if you're gonna do picture in picture, please use it wisely.
We saw Wesley beat Dion Lennox. Can we get some personality in the men's division? I mean, you look great. You're a D1 athlete, but that broom has more charisma. So can we do something about this? Like, I don't know what it is.
Man. Like, that's what I'll be saying. Like, people were complaining again, going back to Trick's run, but I get it. Like, a lot of people complain about why Trick. If you don't like Trick Williams, I understand. But at the very least, Trick Williams got personality over the Reed Hollins and the Dion Lennoxes, and yeah, man, it's missing. It's missing. We can go down a list of guys who, if it's not Obafemi and Trick Williams and Ethan Page. Come on, can you give me anybody?
Yeah. No. I said I don't. I agree with you. What's been accused of the women's division, especially maybe in the Divas Day and maybe the start of 2.0, has definitely happened to the men's division in NXT now, where maybe they're just they're good-looking guys, but there ain't nothing going on.
Nothing, man. Nothing to latch on to whatsoever, and so that's what they need to work on. They got the looks down. People look legit, but we need we need more personality quickly.
Yeah, we need a big personality to come into NXT to save us, but I just don't think
hopefully
that's going to happen.
Hopefully he pop up out of nowhere.
I don't know. Yeah. Trick Williams came out and said he would take on Wesley next week in Atlanta. In the alternate universe, this is for the NXT Championship. Stephanie Becker wants the North American title. The Heritage Cup was on the line when the former champion Dempsey took on a man who beat him for the Cup, King, In the end, King retained the cup the same way he won it, with a low blow that led to a pin. What the fuck
Why do we do this?
are we doing? Why are we wasting time?
Why do we do this? I'm glad you said that, because that's literally what I wrote down. It's like, why did we do this? Is this the same thing we're gonna get? Nothing changed. Just except Regal wasn't there. Like, what are we doing?
I don't know. Does it replay the match? I don't get it. I don't know. It's just.
I'm telling you, I don't know if it's gonna happen. If not, I'm gonna lose these points. But I'm gonna tell you guys now. Everybody who rewind this all the way back to a February episode in December or January when we do next year prediction. But I said the cup will be no more, and I really feel like they're gonna cancel this cup because they don't have anything for it, James. Like, this is bad. I don't know if you know. I'm completely out. Like, Noam Dar's gonna have to come back and save it again. It's just like, we've seen that before. So, like, man, I'm out on the cup right now.
I've got more about the cup. In a bit. Don't worry about that. But Andre Chase let us know Chase U is dead. Someone said it doesn't have to be. Yes, it does. That was the stipulation. All right? That's not what we do here. All right? Fucking hell.
Oh,
I mean,
God,
they released
please.
Duke Hudson. Wasn't that enough? Fuck me. And you bring Chase. I mean, what? Again, it's just like, why won't this die? Do you know what I mean? Just why?
Yeah. And you know what? That's a great point. And Booker T, speaking of Duke Hudson, Booker T said 6 years or 7 years in development was a long time for anybody. I'm like, you know what, Booker? That's a nice way to try to explain it to yourself. But why the hell is Chase here? I'm not saying he ain't been. I know he ain't been there as long, but you can't tell me Duke needs to go and Andre Chase can stay. Like, whatever, man. You gotta have to explain some of this to me. Like, what are we doing here, man?
And apparently, Monty, in this world with mental health and depression, it shows by not getting a haircut. That's what that's what the main symptom is. Just a bit ruffled and no haircut. Yes, well, you're in trouble, my friend. I mean, fuck's sake, don't look at me. Anyway, fight broke out backstage. Jada Parker and Carmen Petrovich were booked to the single match. Chantilly Adonis accompanied Carmen to the ring, and Petrovich scored the win over after Claudia Jordan showed up, distracted Parker just long enough. Petrovich rolled her up.
Yeah.
I just, all right.
Interesting.
We did like Parker anyway. Who cares? It's fine. After what went down in North American title match earlier, Stax and Luca Cristofino were booked in a tag match against Brooks Jensen and Nico Vance. Oh my fuck. Vance hit a huge slam on Stax for the win. OTM and Briggs Ball. I mean, this is the only interesting thing from this, and again, we'll mention it. It's the first time the family are questioning Tony D. It's not what we've seen recently, and even Stax has been throwing sideways glances every now and again, hasn't he? So maybe that's the bigger story.
That's the only thing to latch on to. So.
Yes, I'm doing it. I'm trying.
You're doing your best. You're doing your best, sir. You know what? I got something else to say. Brooks Jensen. He's also must be going through a mental health thing.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to compliment him, but he's a bear. That chest hair is amazing. I will say that. Oh my God.
That's the best. Like, that's probably the best compliment we gave him his entire NXT career.
That's his run. That is his run in a nutshell there. Great chest hair. This week's main event was the NXT title match between Obafemi and Eddie Thorpe. The challenger hit a stunner followed by a flying elbow drop for the closest 2 count of the match. Femi won moments later by hitting a big powerbomb. Trick hit a knee to Thorpe and stared at Oba. So at this point in time, Oba is finished with Eddie Thorpe, and it looks like maybe Trick is next. But again, Femi doing what he should do and just smashing.
Yeah, I thought this was good. As somebody who's a fan of him as Carl Fredericks, I just gotta say this, and I don't think I'm the only one. Like, the match was fine, and I thought but like you said, Oba doing what he does best. But they're trying, and it just reminds me. I don't know why Eddie Thorpe is giving me Ridge Holland vibes, and that's not good. And I'm not trying to say it's Eddie Thorpe's fault, but it's like I'm trying to care, I'm trying to look at him as a threat. And maybe it's because he's going against Oba, or maybe it's because he's dealing with Trick right now, and they are so much bigger stars than most of the men's division, like we already mentioned. But man, it's just tough. It's tough so far, in my opinion, to really, even as a heel, to really latch on to Eddie Thorpe. I don't know if that's the same for you, but yeah, man, it's one of those things because I know he can work. It's one thing I already knew. I knew coming in he can work. It's just, again, it's like we mentioned earlier with that personality and that lack thereof, and like we kind of said, and we already kind of mentioned last update. Instead of feeling like a threat, even though he's doing things and getting the upper hand on people like Obafemi and Trick Williams, he still comes off just like a twerp, somebody who's just in the way. And I don't.
And
That's
again,
not what you want.
but I think that's a problem. Again, we talk about charisma and stuff like this, but again, it's motivation for that person. And again, I know Eddie Thorpe, and they've tried to do it. I think the last NXT was like, oh, he's being screwed over. But again, for him to not have time to talk about that, even like the stuff Kevin Owens is doing at the moment in the car, with that 1 minute or 2 minutes of just getting it off your chest. Maybe that's what we need to see from Eddie Thorpe, because like you said, there's no doubt the talent's there. But again, you worry about the heel turn and then just kind of falling off, which we do see in NXT, which is a bit of a shame. But we'll move on. January 23rd, live Impact. And don't worry, Fraxium are fine. They retained versus the Rascals, thanks to Wesley. Looks like this is still a thing with the Rascals, but he's hanging around with DuPont and Igwe, which is probably the best place for him right now. Fraxium also defended against the Nemeth brothers. So that was quite cool to see the interaction between Ryan and Axiom. But Cora Jade as well showed up. She beat Zaya Brookside. Remember her? And then that was after a couple of weeks, setting up the match with Masha, presumably the next Impact special or something like that. And so did JBL, but who cares? But again, at least we're getting stuff. And Fraxium on Impact mixing with the Rascals and the Hardys, it ain't a bad thing.
Yeah, I think that's what I like the most. Like Fraction is like, I think we I don't know how many ways we can say it, but Fraction is obviously the best or some of the best of NXT right now. So to have them on Impact interacting with other teams and showcasing, like I said, basically the best that NXT has to offer in their division. And then again with the stuff with Cora Jade, I just like the involvement of everybody and just kind of working out. And honestly, with Impact contracts and stuff coming up, I don't really know how deep their roster is. So maybe some of this is helpful to Impact in that regard also, because you just get to let the people that you know that you do have signed, you give fresh opponents for them too. So yeah, man, it's really cool, man. And yeah, it's really cool in my opinion overall. But the whole Wesley stuff, and we can talk about Wesley in a whole nother, because I don't know what to say about Wesley. Like Wesley is the only person I ever known who was the greatest North American champion of all time, and he was a great tag team wrestler on NXT. And now I don't even know if he get called up, would he get fired eventually? Like that's where we're at right now with him, and that's very concerning from my perspective.
Without doubt. We'll move on to NXT January 28th. The show kicks off with Julia and Bayley taking on Jade and Prez in a tag team match. Cora and Roxanne tried to get an early advantage, but were driven out of the ring to regroup. Prez and Julia had a nice exchange of near falls once they were the League of Women in the ring and things got going. Bayley tagged in, and the Project immediately tagged out to avoid dealing with her. Bayley and Julia ended up scoring the win after the role model hit a flying elbow drop. But again, I just can't complain because it's quality action. You know what I mean? 4 women who know what they're doing. It's like you said, it's an easy watch.
Yeah, man, you can't go wrong. I mean, this is the part of the show that can't be questioned. You know what I mean? This is the part of what Sean has been doing that has been top notch. And you would like to see this consistency in the men's division or across the card. But honestly, like you said, you can't get much better than this. You get Bayley, having her back in this environment. Like I told you, that real superstar element you can tell is there. And then you have Julia, who's consistent, who's the champ. And then Cora Jade and Roxanne is basically again, also, I think consistent is the word. Like, that's what you get. Like you said, you can just sit back, watch, enjoy solid action, and you can just be confident that everybody is going to be doing what they need to do, and it's going to make sense. So this was, like you said, really good, and you just can't really go wrong with it. A great way to start the show.
Without doubt. We get an Eddie Thorpe video package where he says he's proved he belongs, and he talks about his duty to his ancestors. Waller and Theory interviewed Femi, but felt like the main reason for this segment was for them to insult the NXT champion. What was quite funny, the fans wanted Theory to turn on Grayson, which he did, but not the way the fans wanted. They said they weren't convinced he had main roster potential. Williams eventually showed up in a conversation with Femi, but it turned into him taking out Theory and Waller together. Femi then picked up Trick and powerbombed him to end the segment standing tall. I laugh because Obi Femi can do that and just get away with it. After the break, a battered Williams had to take on a fresh Lee. Williams ended up getting disqualified for shoving the referee so he could continue his beatdown. I mean, with the amount of outside interference, it was a push on the ref that got the job done. But then again, we're telling a different story. Oba looks like he's got new challenges, and Trick, I don't know if it's shown his toughness or whatever it is, but again, the big loser in that is Wes Lee.
Exactly. I mean, like, at the end of the day, like, as much as I'm also hoping that maybe what they're doing with Trick is leading to some type of mean streak, or like you said, showing off that toughness, or whatever they're trying to do with Trick in that regard. Like, yeah, I can be concerned, but at the same time, it's no one, in my opinion, like you mentioned, just that is falling off further than where we looked at them than Wes Lee. He's not a threat anymore. And James, I have to give you props. You told me that you weren't on board with the heel turn, and it feels like so far. I know he still has time, and maybe, but like we mentioned, he used to be on that list with the Obafemi, Trick, guys who I thought had enough personality and was cool enough to be, who can stand out. And right now, as a heel, he don't stand out. Really the only heel that's on the active male NXT roster that really not really get under my skin, but I know that he's doing a really good job. That, in my opinion, is Ethan Page. So when you think about that, and you think about where we looked at Wes Lee and how far he seems to have fallen, it's really frustrating. But overall, this was good, cool, at least from the perspective of seeing Trick Williams develop more of a mean streak, because if he's supposed to be even remotely a threat to Obafemi, he's going to have to do something. And I know he didn't do anything but shove a ref, but that's better than what he has been doing.
Yeah, no. It didn't. But again, like you said about Wes Lee, the issue is he had the connection with the fans, and he was like the ultimate underdog. And now it's just, I don't know what it is, But hopefully that can improve. Not everybody needs to be a heel, though. I will say that. Izzy Dame says there's nothing going on between her and Tony D. Ridge calls her a liar. Stacks tell Ridge not to talk to a lady like that. Okay. Oba spoke to Ava. He doesn't mind both Waller and Theory. I like the fact as well, we talked about Booker and Corey's relationship, that Booker's nickname for Corey is Gravy, which, again, if you like it or not, that's your nickname,
Again, Booker's the best. That's all. I mean, I don't really know what else to say other than he's the best. And again, they're doing the best that they can to kind of still have a little bit of chemistry there along with the new changes, because you mentioned it earlier, and I think that's a great point. Booker is he's a motor mouth. There's no other way to really put it. He just goes right off the handle. So at first it felt like Corey was just trying to get a word in edgewise. Just, can I get something in? Can I say something? So as the weeks have gone by, you can see they're trying to get a little bit of banter going, and we'll see how far it goes. But yeah, man, Booker. I mean, you can't get much better than Booker, man.
No, you can't. Fallon Henley versus Shotzi Blackheart, NXT Women's North American Championship. I don't know if it is Shotzi Blackheart anymore, or am I just really old? Right. But anyway, yeah, I still call him Humberto Carrillo, even though he's only Berto now. Like, yeah, right. I've come down the edges. Stolen and Paxi drove the rest of Fatal Influence away for a short brawl, but left it Shotzi exposed. She ended up having a knee smashed against the ring post. Henley picked a finisher, hit a finisher to pick up the win. It was a fun match, and Stephanie showed up to confront Henley. The announcers confirmed that Henley's reign is coming to an end at Vengeance Day. No, it might not. It might not. But
Like that.
Yeah, chance is not looking good.
Yeah, theoretically. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. We're not going to expose where we're picking yet, but it's definitely tough to pick against Stephanie in this situation. But what I will say is that this match is really good. You know, again, I'm really happy for Shotzi, and I don't know what the future holds for Shotzi because she was a main roster talent. But I do like her in this current role. I like the basically the faction that she's kind of in with. You know, I'm saying every name but what I need to say for Fallon Henley and what's my girl name? Not JC Jane. Anyway,
is he? No, not Izzy Dame. I always get confused as well.
Damn it.
What's her name?
I'm frustrating myself because I know it. I was about to say her old wrestling name. She's not Priscilla Kelly anymore.
Gigi.
Gigi.
Yeah,
See,
there you go.
Some stan is gonna hate somebody. So I'm probably gonna get a message from somebody who's gonna be like, "What kind of you idiot? You don't even know Gigi's name." It's like, hey man,
How long
like
have you
you
been
mentioned,
doing this? How long?
Yeah, I thought you said you've been doing this for 5 years. It's just like, bro, like it's 65 women, and I gotta learn a new woman's name every 2 weeks watching this show. Anyway, no excuses though. Sorry, Gigi, but the point is. I like what they've been doing with Shotzi here, and I thought this match was a really good title defense for Fallon Henley. But like you mentioned, James, I'm leaning towards probably her last title defense.
But again, she had a little run with it, a couple of nice defenses. So again, it's not a bad title reign if it does come to an end. Backstage, Carmen Petrovich thanked Kalani Jordan for helping her out against Jada Parker last week, but Jordan says she's delusional. She can listen to whoever she wants, but it's only a matter of time before Adonis leaves her ass. And then Carmen called her a bitch. I mean, that escalated quickly. I mean, again, I like the new attitude, I suppose, but still. Ava was shit-stirring between Rox and Jade. She always does that. Ethan Page beat Cedric Alexander in Cedric's last NXT appearance. Alexander suffered another post-match beat down. Javon Evans ran in to make the save. I mean, Cedric, I hope he has a banger with Ali in TNA, you know, because the CWC, the Cruiserweight Classic, and whatever he's accomplished, he has had a great run, even if he's not been used week in, week out.
Yeah, man. I think he's also one of those guys, and I'm not going to act like the internet is always right, because a lot of times the internet wrestling community is dead wrong. But, you know, he's popular for a reason on the net, because he not only in what he did before WWE, but like you said, the CWC, that is some legendary stuff, and everybody knew he had it in the ring. I wish things went better for him consistently on the main roster. He has one of my favorite finishers ever with the lumbar check, and I can't wait. Like you mentioned, if he gets a chance to go to Impact and do a banger with Ali, and be nice to see them rekindle that rivalry, some of the greatest stuff we've ever seen. And, you know, and also if, Tony apologizes for disrespect in the past, I definitely can see him back in the Hurt Syndicate if he decides to go that route. Either way it goes, Cedric is going to be another one of those kinds, like we mentioned with Isla Dunn. He's one of those people who I feel like is going to flourish outside of the WWE system. It's a shame that everybody can't, be the stars we know they have the potential to be in the system. But, like you mentioned all the time, James, when a perfect era to be able to figure out where you belong as a wrestler. So he's going to be fine. But again, it was a good little match too before the beat down and all of that for him. So sad to see him go, but I think, like you mentioned, he can consider his run very successful, because if it's one thing to get there and not leave a mark, but I think we all know Cedric left a mark in many different ways, whether it was with the Hurt Business or, like you mentioned, CWC, anything he did, Cedric left a mark.
Now, Josh Briggs and Yoshiki Inamura cemented their tag team. Josh giving Yoshiki a leather vest, much like his own. Briggs loves the fucking tag team, doesn't he? But again, I didn't know that was...
No, you remember he beat the hell out of Jensen to get away from him. So
Yeah, but Jensen's going, where was my leather jacket? You never gave me one.
I just love how Sean tried to separate them and give them different quick. Did you see after a few months he was like, okay, no, both of y'all need partners. Y'all need partners.
Yeah. Jensen, you need a generic tool guy. And Briggs, well, we'll just see what happens there. But I'm worried about that, but I'll tell you about that in a little bit. Speaking of tag teams, Bianca Belair, Naomi versus Jakara Jackson and Lash Legend with the women's tag titles on the line. Legend and Jackson hit their finisher, but the ESCW broke up the pin at the last second. A few minutes later, Naomi assisted Belair with putting Jackson down for the pin. And much like we spoke about the other women's tag match we saw, these four again just... I can't have in words what they did, because again, I'm just so impressed at this moment in time with the improvement in Lash Legend. And I don't know if that's because I don't know what's going on. You know, I don't know who's training at the moment, who's in the rear, but it's just clicking. And again, it was a match if it was a few months ago, I'd be like, oh God. But again, I was like, this is a great main event.
Yeah, no, this is special. And again, kind of to know Bianca working and being that Bianca was basically one of the first people to introduce Lash Legend to wrestling, and like to see them kind of go back and forth, and you can kind of see the future in Lash Legend immediately. And even Jakar, is really good in her role. You can see they protect her to an extent compared to Lash, but at the same time, I felt like she did really good here, and did not look like you can still be in a tag team and be getting carried. And I don't think Jakar necessarily is in that situation. I just think Lash is so impressive that most of the time we're like, oh my God, like Lash, money, print money. You can see that now with Lash. So again, I'm really, like you mentioned, I'm also impressed, but I also think that this is one of those situations. This is no different than what I was saying with Roxanne working with Bayley. They see, or NXT seems to realize that Lash Legend and Jakar has the potential to be special. So let's put them in the ring with the tag champions. Let's give them a chance to showcase that they are at least close to that level. So, I think the future is bright. I don't know if how we're doing shakeups. I know that the whole transfer window kind of confused me on how these things work. So I don't know, but if we are doing a shakeup, or if we are going to be bringing people to the roster, neither one of us, and I know, like you mentioned, you probably wouldn't say this last year, but neither one of us should be surprised if we see Lash Legend or Jakar on someone's main roster, because of how impressive they are as a team. And, again, I wouldn't even been mad if they found a way to take the belts. That's just how great I think they've been doing, if you know what I mean. But, of course, with Bianca and Naomi getting the win, I'm not surprised with that at all. And it was a great match. I'm with you. It was just kind of like you said at the beginning. We started the show with a really good tag match where you can just kind of watch and just be impressed with the young talent, but also appreciate the vet. But also in the same situation in the main event, it was a really balanced show. This one of the best NXTs I think that we've reviewed so far, definitely.
You're right, and again, the sky's the limit for Lash. I remember seeing Bianca Belair in NXT and thinking, well, weren't really sure to begin with, and then we saw the run, and again with Lash, it's just that. And again, it's not just in-ring talent, it's that kind of charisma, and you just want to watch her. And so I want to watch Jackson as well, but with Lash, she just takes center stage, Anyway, move on.
Different. It's just different, man. Like you mentioned, you can't take your eyes off what Lash is doing.
Yeah, without doubt. Star quality there. So move on, next episode, February 4th. The first match of the night saw Stephanie Vaquer take on JC Jane, who had Henley and Jasmine Nix were at ringside as usual. There was a weird moment where Nix tried to interfere but accidentally hit Jane, but the referee let the match continue. Vaquer hit a finisher on Jane for the win after taking Nix down. In the locker room, Zarya talks some trash at Lash Legend for failing to eliminate anyone in the Royal Rumble and also not taking the tag team titles back. We should say quickly as well, it was a fun opener between the two, but also, has there been a Royal Rumble that had a bigger impact with NXT, the superstars, than the Rumble we just had? When you think Julia, Stephanie Vaquer, we had Jada Parker, Lash Legend, as we mentioned, and of course Roxanne Perez breaking the record. It was just Sean just going, look what I've got, guys.
Yeah, man. I don't think I can put it any better than that. They really have a lot of just talent, and like you mentioned, especially in the women's division, to kind of like we kind of got a situation where we've had one or two. You know what I mean? Like we had one or two in the Royal Rumble, or one person that we know was gonna be in the Royal Rumble. Like you mentioned, Roxanne already kind of being at three of them, like that. That just kind of shows you that we've kind of been in this situation before. But to kind of look at this and just see so many of the roster and a lot of the top talent, and like you mentioned with Last Legend, and just the possibility is just insane when you think about it. And then, like you mentioned, with a Soul Rukas are, we still got a lot of talent that's right there who didn't, like Lola Vice, like still got a lot of people who didn't show up in there. We had Jada Parker and all of that. So yeah, man, like I'm with you. He kind of flexed it. Look at this. Look at my women's roster, man. Look how deep we are. But at the same time, he didn't even really scratch the surface of how deep he really could have went. So yeah, man. We talk about it all the time. Like we are in one of the most interesting eras, in my opinion, ever when it comes to a show, because I don't think I've ever watched a show, even in Impact with the Knockouts division at their peak. I don't know if I ever seen a show this filled to the depths with women's talent. So I think that's just one of those things that we're kind of blessed with the more we watch or the more we get a chance to cover NXT.
Yeah, without a doubt. We see Obafemi interviewed backstage, and he says to Ava, she might run NXT, but he runs the ring. I'm not arguing. Lexis King came out and gave a promo declaring he's his father's son, and he refuses to be something he's not anymore. Again, it's confused me because it was like, who said you? It's you who's been doing it. Like, no one did anything.
This is your whole gimmick, to be anti your dad. Nobody cares about your internal struggle but you.
He's annoyed by himself. And again, we were wondering with the talent exchange as it was, we talk about all the great names in TNA. Who would NXT get? Well, shockingly, Fandango came out to confront him. And the thing I loved about it was full old Fandango as well. He was greeted by loud cheers and a welcome back. Man, they agreed to have a Heritage Cup match. I mean, I didn't mind this. It's just a shame the rules of the Heritage Cup have changed, because maybe we could have had Tyler Breeze in his corner. I don't know, but maybe that's just making sense.
Yeah, that's the one thing that kind of sucked about it. It was cool to see him. It was very interesting. It's like this is the first time ever that I've seen somebody go. It's like, so if Nick comes back, are they gonna have to put in parental? I saw online on YouTube on the actual WWE account when they posted this. They said, the JDC returns to NXT, and it said in parentheses Fandango. So I just found that hilarious, because I was like, so if Nick Nemeth shows up, are they gonna put in parentheses Dolph Ziggler, former NXT champion Dolph Ziggler? So yeah, man, it was cool to see him though, but it was one of those situations where I was like I told them, kind of out on the cup, but again, it was a great moment, and the music always gets people going for some reason, even though it's not even the best music. But hey, I remember when the crowd was. There was a
time where I was fandangoing. And this is a funny thing.
I was gonna say, he doesn't get props for crowd participation, because he kind of helped start a lot of that, or helped that crowd participation era. His music was a part of that too. But go ahead.
If it wasn't, again, and I know I'm going to get a lot of hate, but like you make a perfect point. For all the Fandango and the crowd participation, the Daniel Bryan stuff might not have taken off as much. And again, we're getting the Yeet stuff now.
Yeah.
So it's been part and parcel of wrestling. And maybe if Fandango, I'm not saying he started it, but
no, right, he didn't start
like you said,
but it definitely
when the wrestling was that bad and the crowd had to do something, that's what we did. All right?
You had to do something to entertain yourself, because you didn't know what you were going to be watching on a week-to-week basis. So
that's
yeah,
why we used to
man.
sing the entrances theme and stuff, because it's just fun, you know. What's not fun is Ridge Holland making his way to the ring, but luckily Stacks attacked him before the bell. Ridge still won. I mean, Ridge, don't do to the family what you did to Chase U. Or maybe do it. I don't know. I'm in two minds at this moment. So Ruka and Zarya beat Gigi Dolan and Tatum Paxley. I mean, I like the group of them, but what is the point when there's no tag team division in in NXT for Zarya?
Get multiple women on TV. That's the
Ruka.
only thing you got.
Yeah, why are they teaming? There's no end goal. There's no...
Right. The only thing you got is get multiple women on TV, because, like you mentioned, there's no purpose other than that. I mean, I guess theoretically we can be like, well, if you win a couple tag team matches, maybe Bianca and Naomi give you a shot. But yeah, they don't really ever say that. So yeah, there's no other purpose other than to showcase multiple women. And I don't know, man. I like Zarya so far, but I'm waiting on her to go ahead and just drop Soul Ruka. As much as I like Soul Ruka, and I like them so far, I just feel like their vibes are very different. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm going off looks too much. But I can see Zarya beating the hell out of Soul Ruka. I mean, maybe I'm waiting on that switch to flip. You know, maybe it's just me. Is it just me? Like, so Zarya should be killing people, at least theoretically, right?
I thought she would have been booked a little bit different. And if you wanted to put Ruka with someone, I made her put with Nikki Lyons, just because of the amount of clothes worn. That's all I'm going to say as a team. Do you know what I mean? You know what I mean by that. There's a way around. But maybe, like I said, this is just going to be Monster Azari at some point. Trick Williams was interviewed. He said he hasn't spoken to Obafemi, but the plan is simple. Show he deserves a title shot. Not Waller, not Theory. And Oba's got a receipt coming too. In ring, Bayley tried to talk some sense into Roxanne for the champion arrived. Charlotte Flair showed up to tease that she might challenge for the NXT title following her Royal Rumble win, considering she did it last time. I don't know about you, Monty. I was like, what a waste of your Rumble win last time. No wonder you won it a second time, I suppose. I mean, it's great that you're here, but my God. Cora Jade showed
you don't
up
remember that?
Yeah,
she fought Blonde Rhea. I remember that. Yeah.
Cora Jade showed up with a kendo stick and attacked Bayley and Julia, and she swung at Perez but missed. So maybe the friendship is officially done again. But again, it's just fun because, Julia is not the best talker. So what they're doing is they're filling the gaps around her, and I'm really enjoying it at this moment in time. Like, it's just fun.
I mean, that's what you do until she gets more of a repertoire with the English language. I think that's what they should do. And if you remember when Oscar was on top, they kind of did a similar thing. A lot of times, kind of helping out or doing vignettes to kind of fill that gap. So I think they're doing a good job so far. You know, it's a great thing that we're in this era now of wrestling where you don't necessarily need to talk for people to take you seriously as a champion, you know? So, you know, we'll see. I think it's only going to get better. But like you mentioned, they've been doing a really good job of still taking her seriously, too. That's another thing that you really want to maintain. So, yeah, man, I'm with you on this one. But we'll see. We'll see as time going on. I really do like the flimsiness of the Cora J. Roxanne relationship because, honestly, it's very, very typical. And I'll just leave it at that. If you know their age ranges, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. We saw Javon Evans being told if he's cleared, it will be him and Ethan at Vengeance Day. Next up was Petrovic versus Jordan. Neither competitor got full entrance due to the break, but we've got action when we return. Jada Parker showed up in the middle of the match, got on commentary, but not like normal, like stood in front of the announcer, which I didn't mind. You know, I suppose it's a little bit different.
Didn't either, I assume.
Without a doubt. Jordan seemed to be more aggressive at the end just because Parker was there. She won by submission, but she applied the hold again, refused to let go. The ref called for the decision to be reversed. Again, they're trying to toughen up
Jordan. That happens, by the way. I hate when that happens, man.
It's, again, they're trying, and this is like maybe we spoke about with Kalani in the past, toughen her up a little bit.
Yes, like we mentioned, like she's getting it. She's pretty much got like her moves down, and I like the addness of a submission hold because, like you mentioned, if she's gonna be who they think she has the potential of being, she's gonna have to, like you said, have to show a mean streak. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's kind of like you said what they're trying to develop here, get her an edge, and I'm all for it.
And this week's main event saw Obafemi and Trick Williams team up to take on Grayson Waller and Austin Theory. I tell you what, the whoop that trick chant with Oba's entrance, the ooh, was just fire, man. I loved it. I love shit like that, It was chanting at home like a madman. Williams tagged himself into start against Theory, which didn't sit well with the NXT champion. Eddie Thorpe showed up and interfered, hitting Williams with a strap, costing him the match. Thorpe kept attacking Williams while Femi just walked away and let it happen. So that was interesting. And again, the show goes off the air with the colour bars. And this time we get an image of 4 people standing in shadows briefly. Right, so we get the last episode then. What did you think?
And I just want people
event?
To stop saying the Shield, by the way. Before you go there, please stop saying New Shield. Because we've watched enough NXT to know that this could definitely be like four roots, one tree again. We don't know, okay? We don't know what this is. So stop. This could be any other group that has passed through, and we've seen a lot.
Well,
so just please stop saying the Shield.
Could it be Retribution? Ali, Dijak, Shameful. I mean,
see what I'm saying?
There's more chance of that. There's more chance of that. But again, Theory and Waller winning a match for the first time since WrestleMania 40. So that's good, I suppose.
Are you joking? Or that might be legit right there.
No, that might be legit. I'm not lying.
That might be.
I'm trying to rack my brains.
Gosh, yeah, this is decent stuff. Like you said, continue the story. Again, but my overall takeaway from it, even though I thought this was fine, and everything, and I do like that they didn't even bother with the whole, can they coexist? You know what I'm saying? I kind of like that they didn't even do that. It's like, nope, they can't. But but what I will say though is that Austin Theory and Grayson Waller, doing something here is just as good as it was to see them. Another indictment on this struggling men's division. And I can just leave it on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you just look at Theory and just go, there was so much potential. Same Waller as well. Like, I guess there is time, but then again, you never know in WWE. That's the weird thing, isn't it? So
I think Waller got way more of a chance. It feels like.
Yeah,
you're right.
Last NXT then, February 11th, and we start with what felt like a big match. Cora Jade versus Bayley. Raw model hit all usual moves, but was distracted by Roxanne, who came up to Bayley's old music and dressed in her old gear. Former hugger went after the faux hugger, but Jade seized the opportunity and dropped Bayley with DDT twice to score the pin and the win. I mean, this was really good stuff, and this was a big win for Jade. It became even bigger when Ava announced she'd be added to the women's title match at Vengeance Day. Good business all round here, Monty.
Yeah, I just think, how cool is it, man? I don't know about you, Jay. I just grew up on so many stories of politics in wrestling and stuff like that, and not wanting to take the fall and all that. And it's funny how nowadays in wrestling we don't have to compliment anybody for just doing their job and being able to put over a talent like Cora Jade, like you mentioned. So cool for her, cool thing, because she's another one of those fan meet type of girls who kind of looked up to Bayley. So it's cool from that element. But it's also a great, like you said, great storytelling, great progression from that point of view too. Because again, Cora Jade being added just makes sense, especially with the whole, falling out with Roxanne. And, I know she wants to be champion too. It makes sense, because I remember when she kind of got back with her, I was like, so is Cora Jade just admitting that she's just going to be like a flunky now? So it's kind of cool to see her show some ambition and want the belt too. And then, like you mentioned, beating Bayley and doing it, just a good piece of business all around from everybody involved.
Yeah. And again, we mentioned Cora Jade maybe the 2 or 3 updates ago, coming back from injury and worried about her And she is just fucking killing it at this moment in time. So credit to Cora. I know Perez gets credit and obviously Bailey coming in, but Cora is keeping step with people like Julia, with people like Bailey, week in and week out. And again, the other thing I'm really enjoying is the Bailey Roxanne feud is multi-branded. And even with like elimination qualifier, you know, and you think Perez is already, she could have a WrestleMania match with Bailey. You know what I mean? The way they're doing it at this moment in time is that she's already ready and Bailey's there as well for that. And I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, it's really incredible when you think about it. You know, I'm not sure if that's going to be a WrestleMania match or if they're going to do stand and deliver. But like you said, with her being basically in Elimination Chamber or in that contention for that spot, it's very interesting to see what, like you said, how they looking at it, because they pretty much already done put her on Raw. So it's going to be cool to see, you know, like you said, how long and where this could possibly go with all the women. And does this also, you know, also I think this is a cool way too of, even though Roxanne may be leaving, Cora Jade, like you say, building up confidence, getting better and better. I can see Cora Jade being now, you know, depending on what happens in this match, if she doesn't win it in the 4-way match, maybe you can see Cora Jade definitely be more of a threat or have more of a chance to possibly become champion again, or fight, or at least be a rival of Julia going forward too. So, yeah, man, this is again, just you can't do anything but just look at the way that a lot of this has turned out when it comes from around Roxanne and when it comes with Cora Jade. And you just got to be excited. And, you know, I think we mentioned it before when she was in as a baby face. It was a time, even with Roxanne, we know she's a prodigy, we know she had potential, but there's no way of truly knowing, you know, if, you know, that's going to translate. But I think now you can see that, you know, Roxanne definitely has a bright future on the main roster, too.
Yeah, and like you said, Jade is going to be affected Julia now down the line. Backstage, so Ruka talks with Zarya, wants to take her to the beach. Nikita Lyons has a snide comment, tries to say one victory doesn't make a team, and says Zarya is being held back by Soul. You've been having it, so they're going to have a match later. Femi came out to be interviewed by Grayson Waller and Austin Theory, but ended up turning into an argument between the tag team partners. Waller and Theory ended up attacking Femi by pretending they were going to fight, and both hit the NXT champion with their finishes to end the segment. And again, I don't know about you, Monty. I don't want to say I'm old, man, but it never works, a baby face with two heels in the triple threat match, because they're going to argue, especially if they're meant to be on the same fucking team.
Hey, man, I'm just as old as you when it comes to watching. At least I feel like, because I feel the exact same way in that regard. And man, it's one of those things. It's really interesting when you think about it. You know, about that whole entire situation there. But hey, again, sometimes just when you try to go like, oh, this is how wrestling's always been, then they do they book it differently.
Yeah.
So
they do, but again, you can see the match of them, you know, going for the pin and pulling the other one off, so to speak, and then
definitely gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
Yeah, we got to know it. Anyway, Javon is in Ava Rain's office and shrugs off her concerns about what the doctor said about being at risk for permanent injury. He insists he's cleared, but Ava, and this being WWE, has a waiver ensuring that the company would not be held liable for absolutely nothing. So, Javon risking
corporations.
Yeah, good old WWE. At least they're not going to be in trouble.
Wow.
Poor Javon. Next up was a triple threat tag team match with Hank and Tank, Josh Briggs, Inamura, Molesborn, and Tavian Heights competing. This was not officially a title shot, but commentators made it clear that faction would be watching, and they were. Briggs and Inamura scored the victory as the tag champs looked on from the crow's nest, and they said, yes, you can have a shot at Vengeance Day, because what tag team hasn't? But again, this was fun for what it was, even though the tag team division, we have drilled down on the men's division this update, but the tag division has kind of got away with it, because I know faction are great, but there's nothing else at this moment in time.
Yeah, they're still trying to build it up. I can see, at least I do see the effort, but like, yeah, you're 100% right. Nobody is even remotely a threat at this moment. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it's 100% true. I mean, that's the thing with Briggs. and in a more winning. It was cool to see them in this spot and get the big victory because, again, they were kind of like the fresher team. But I don't know how, again, it's one of those situations where it's like, it's going to take a lot of convincing to me to make me see them on a Fraxium's level. But hey, maybe we'll get like a multi-man ladder match at Stand and Deliver or something with all the teams, and maybe somebody can make a name for themselves, because that's what's necessary in my opinion. They do a lot of these multi-man tag matches to kind of get a shot at Fraxium, but no matter how good Fraxium of a match Fraxium gets out of them, it's like, again, you come away from it still looking at them like, I don't know, man, there's nobody really else that we think are that cool or really that team. It felt like for a while here we at least had one or two teams, like back when the Grizzly Young Vets, miss them, MSK. Man, we had it so good at times in the tag division. So it's really weird when you look at it now. You just don't really see much of anything.
Yeah, I mean, my hope is, like we talk about, Fraxium and the Hardys, but they're both tag champs at the moment. And again, for them to face each other with both titles on the line, I just don't see it. So it even makes me worried for Fraxium, because the Hardys ain't losing that title because they're bringing business into TNA. But anyway, speaking of TNA, it was weird to hear the system theme, because Fandango, who represented TNA, came out as JDC this time, Johnny Dango Curtis, challenging King for the NXT Heritage Cup, which was not being contested under the old rules. It was the new ones King put in place. Now, just like any other one full match.
Please get rid of this cup.
We are one step away from unification. You do know that we are one step from Tony D and Lexus backstage and go, hey, put it all on
North American versus Cup. Yes. At this point, I'm asking for it. Just do it. Give it a nice slow death and let Tony D take it away. Merge it with the belt. Screw it, James, because I'm sick of it. It don't even have the cool rules it had anymore. You know what I'm saying? I don't care. I don't care anymore, James.
But maybe it was, the WWE 2K developers who said, look, we can't do Heritage. I mean, don't worry, we'll change the rules. Do you know what I mean? We'll just
change the rules.
We'll change the rules. There you go.
Exactly. Oh my God. But no. It makes me sad. Especially, I feel like the people. It's so sad that because we watch NXT UK, we know where the lineage it kind of had. So it's just so far removed from that, man. And if you're not gonna do Tony D versus him, let Noam Dar come back and let him kill it off too. Like just something. Just let it be gone.
Imagine if we were watching. If we were watching NXT UK back in the day, and I said to you one day, we're watching Brian Pillman Jr. versus Fandango for this, like, we wouldn't have really believed it. But that's what we got. JDC uses old top rope leg drop that won him his WWE against Chris Jericho, but only got a 2 count. King tripped him when he went back to the top rope, set him up for the coronation. So Fandango, that's probably it for you now, mate. Kalani Jordan talked to Fatal Influence and demands a title shot if Fallon Henley is still champion. She won't be. Parker arrived, so did Adonis, who pointed out Carmen has wins over both of them, so had the next shot. Fuck them. 2 of NXT's most powerful women did battle this week when Nikita Lyons took on Zarya. Zarya battled through Lyons best for hitting her version of an F5 for the pin and the win. This should have been more, shouldn't it? Like
they put the whole match on YouTube, Jerry. The whole match was on YouTube. Because the match was just 3 minutes, so the whole YouTube clip was just basically the entire match. Yeah, man, it should have been more. But honestly, James, I don't know if you know this, but I don't think at this point they feel like Nikita can give you 10 minutes. Because since she's been back, has she even came close to 10 minutes? I think my cat agrees with me, but yeah.
Well, no, but again, has Nikita looked at OnlyFans? Because that might be the answer to the question. I'm just saying, you're talented, but you know what I mean? Maybe.
But you know what, though? The two knee surgeries ago, I did think she probably was a little talented. I don't know if she's the same. I really don't. Again, that's injuries happen. So I'm not trying to say anything, but I'm saying when you get a couple major injuries like that and you were trying to learn, it's setbacks. And with Cora Jade, you kind of see an opposite of that. You see that, not only the hard work, but you can just see that she's basically back to or at least close to where she was before. With Nikita, it's one of those scary things where you wondering now, it's like, will she ever? Will she just be eye candy and able to be used for backstage segments? That's my worry. Yeah. And like you mentioned, James, guess what, man? They signed. Like, they just signed Jordan Grace. And I don't know if she's going to be in NXT or not, but it's possible. So they're signing a new, and then you got the LFG people and all this. You got so many women coming in every other week. It feels like they're having tryouts every month at this point. It doesn't take long for the talent to kind of pass you by. So I don't know. I'm not saying it's over for her because who knows what can happen. But based on what they've given her so far since she's returned, I'm not optimistic.
There's always a Nicola Tiger gimmick in TNA if it fails. So, you know what I mean? There is hope. There is hope somewhere. Trick Williams gave an interview about his upcoming strap match against Eddie Thorpe before the main event cage match for the North American Championship. What happened next, though, caught everyone off guard as absolute Ricky Starks was in the crowd and he's got a microphone. What's he going to say? Ricky Starks' charts go up and he says it's obvious people know who he is and the NXT is the future of wrestling, and he is the superstar of the future. This is the hottest brand, and he is the hottest free agent, baby. Don't let the handsome face and the fragrance fool you. He's here to turn the place upside down. When will the revolution be televised? Well, he's here, ain't he? I mean, wow. Trying to hide my excitement, but my inner Gina is coming out. Ricky fucking Starks, Monty. We need it. Our savior is here.
Man, that's the one thing about it. Like, I've seen people complain about him being here because they felt like he was ready. And I'm not saying I don't understand why. Yes, Ricky is just as ready as a pincer if we're going off in the ring and even with personality. I think the absolute stuff and everything that we know he's capable of, he can do it in WWE, and it's going to work, in my opinion. And, of course, people are mentioning his relationship with Punk and Cody and all that. Of course, that plays a factor. But if we're being honest, he deserves this for a lot of reasons. Like, Ricky's another one of those guys, kind of like Brian Keith, who I heard the name a long time because he was in the Texas circuit of talent. And so he's always been one of those guys that if you was looking in the independents in the southern part of the United States, Ricky's name was probably on one of these cards. So he's been working hard a long time to get where he's at. And that was kind of the thing. Like, I rag on AEW. And I hate that I'm not one of those people, but I've been seeing a lot of so-called AEW fans all of a sudden talking about how it doesn't matter that Ricky's gone now, we don't need him. And it's just like, I understand that you're saying that, but like, let's not try to act like, don't start trying to downgrade him as a talent now all of a sudden just because he's been gone for months or whatever, and you guys felt betrayed because he went to see a friend do his job or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, that's the stupid tribalism that I don't need. Ricky Starks was good enough to get a world title shot against CM Punk years ago on AEW television. He's still just as good enough now. And you're 100% right, James. The thing is, we need him, man. Like I can say all of that I just said. The future is bright for Ricky. He's gonna be a great star for WWE essentially. But right now, we need him in the males division. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, but say from that promo. And again, there's a lot of good stuff you mentioned, like the history of AEW. There's no doubt he's a star with a potential, because I'm going to compare him to Austin Theory in a minute. But from that reaction, from that promo and that appearance, he's number 3 in NXT already, just behind maybe Ober and Trick. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly, man. He's already there, and like we mentioned that whole thing. He's a guy too that right now, let's say he starts off as a face. We know what he can do as a heel. Let's start off at the face. Right now, as a face, we know he's going to have personality. Unless WWE tries to bland him up a little bit, if he's allowed to be Ricky Starks, he's going to have personality as a face. That's something that we need. We need more of that. And if he's going to turn him heel, he's going to have personality. He's going to be able to do that and get over it in that way also. So, yeah, man, you can't do anything but really just be optimistic, in my opinion. Especially if you watch the NXT, you know what he can bring. We really need, not just, we talk about presence, character, but star power. And just something that we got. We need more guys in the male division that we don't have to see more from to know that they're going to be on top. What we were talking about with Roxanne, when we're talking about in the women's division, and when we say Julia, Stephanie, we know that, barring injury, barring anything going on, we can see superstars, even with the Kalanis and Sol Rukas. You know what I mean? You can see potential there. That in the future, these people are going to be the people that you see on the posters and promoting shows and being there. And I think now we finally have someone besides an Obafemi, especially with the possibility of Trick Williams being on the main roster sooner than later. We have someone in the males division that we can also do that. You can promote NXT shows with, and in the future you will see him on the main roster, getting the bulk of it. But yeah, man, some of the people who think this is a downgrade, I understand why, but at the same time, as someone who reviews NXT and has a soft spot and watches it, NXT needs Ricky Starks, and because he wasn't even getting booked, you can't convince me that he doesn't need NXT. If you see what I'm trying to say, because at the very least, he's on your television screen every week.
And that's the thing. And he's going to get 3 or 4 months now under the WWE banner. And again, I know people, he's on AEW, but again, there's going to be different setup, different things, different ways of doing certain things. And I know Stark has been backstage with WWE, so he might know a few people. The Undertaker was praising him the other day as well. So, like I said, the future's bright, but this is just what NXT needs. It's just what he needs at this moment. Like you said, it's the right place at the right time. And it'll be interesting to see what he does now, whether that will be Obafemi, if Trick maybe gets jealous, and see what happens. A lot of people were worried that he wasn't going to be Ricky Starks, but at the moment it looks like he is. But then again, with NXT, you're never sure. But they wouldn't do that, would they? Unless they called him like Starky Ricks or something like that.
I was just about to say,
you know what I
mean?
Be
something cool. The only way you can change it, in my opinion, is if you got something that works better. Because in my opinion, I don't see how you can bring over Penta without really changing anything. And you can do that for certain people, but Ricky Starks somehow didn't work. As far as I know, it just seemed like they didn't want to use it the first show, because you got to think about it, he had got released the day before, so they wasn't really sure if they could go on television saying his name like that. The crowd kind of did it for him also. So unless they have something cool, and I also think some of that worry is because of it WWE just trademarked like 15 horrible or at least weird to horrible sounding names that are probably for the
stuff like that. Yeah, we don't want.
Right. Hopefully they're for the D1 athletes. Like, if you're gonna do that, give the weird names to the people who don't have a track record. I think coming in and doing what they did with Ethan Page, what they've done with Penta, in my opinion, is the way to go if you're going to take talent who have a fan base outside of it. I'm hoping, I don't know for sure, but I'm hoping WWE has figured that out. Because they didn't do it for Stephanie, they haven't done it for Julia. You see what I'm saying? Like, we have a long list of talents who come over from other places that they have not tried to trademark or change anything about them from a name perspective. And I don't see why Ricky Starks could not just be Ricky Starks.
Yeah, without doubt. So it's going to be interesting times. Like I said, it is his first appearance. He might be showing up at Vengeance Day here tonight. We just don't know.
Hopefully. And again, right?
Well, that's what I'm saying. But we know definitely he will have a match for Stand and Deliver. What that is, we don't know. But again, it just brings excitement to the product. Backstage, Kale pulls Uriah Connors over to meet Andre Chase and didn't want to go out to party, but he begs off saying he can't go out on a school night. They remind him there's no school, and he says it's right. Old habits die hard, and he walks off. Monty, I don't like any of these people. Any of those people there, they can all do one. You know what I mean? I don't care if you're D1 or whatever the fuck it is. Like, I'm not interested.
You got to give them a chance. You don't want a Lash Legend or Bianca them. They haven't had a chance, right?
Look, prove me wrong. That's all I'm gonna say. Yeah, do that, and then we'll be
prove
fine.
Me wrong. Yeah, prove me wrong. All I know is that how long is Andre Chase gonna mope about something that died a lot later than we already thought it should have died? And that's the only thing I'm gonna say about that.
And he's gonna get a haircut, and no one's gonna notice. And the other thing as well, how long did it take to set up that steel cage? Because not only did Trick and Ricky Starks, like, you can hear the banging in the background, everything like that, but the steel cage was set up for the main event between Ridge Holland and Tony D for the North American title. Ridge came close to winning several times before the Don made his comeback. Holland ended up taking a crowbar from Izzy Dame and used it, but he only got a 2 count. Tony D used the crowbar against Holland for hitting a big spine buster for the win. And then Sean Spears, Nico Vance, and Brooks Jensen make my blood run cold. They arrived at ringside, and Tony stood up, ready firm, and Izzy Dame hits him with a crowbar. Oh my God! Izzy Dame's turned.
Oh my God!
Why do I care? Why? I pretend I do. Oh, Rizzo was taken out, and then they locked the cage, and Spears with his mates beat the shit out of Tony D. We then got hype reel for Vengeance Day before we see the new stable and see 4 distinct skull masks. Haven't we just seen them? What's going on? Like, who are these masked men? Who are these guys? And the family looks like it's going to war. But as we get Stacks giving him looks. So I don't know how long it's going to work out. But, I mean, what were your thoughts on that to finish us off, eh? After all the good stuff this update.
You know what the problem is? What you just said about that? Theoretically, I should care, right? Like, I should care about the family have all of this drama. I should care about, I don't even know what they're gonna probably have a horrible name too, by the way. But I should care about the Spears' faction or whatever they have going on.
Let's call them Spaction. Spears' faction should be called Spaction.
Yeah, I should care about Spaction, and I should care about Izzy Dame doing what. Bro, let me tell you this, Jay. Like, I love wrestling, and maybe sometimes when you're enjoying an angle, you see like, for example, I knew that once Gunther attacked Jay after his promo and all that, I was like, yo, yeah, Jay can accept him. But I'm enjoying what Jay got going on so much, and the possibility of Gunther getting too cocky once again and maybe losing like he did to Sami Zayn. Like, I'm entertained by that, even though I knew that it was kind of predictable that Gunther and Jay was going to end up being in the situation. Same thing could possibly be said for Charlotte and Tiffany. In this situation, from the very moment when out of nowhere, randomly, Izzy Dame was getting TV time and those weirdos was following her around, and even though she was telling them no, I knew eventually she would end up on their side. Not 1 second did I care or was really invested in Izzy Dame. Like, if you're going to do this, can we at least be invested in the Don and Izzy Dame's relationship? Can we at least be invested? It'd be different if Stacks did it. I wouldn't have cared.
Rizzo would make fucking sense.
Exactly. Somebody that we've seen by the Don and actually know that they were close and somebody that would actually give you something to be like, oh, I wasn't expecting that. Man, dang, all right, now I feel sympathy for the Don. But Izzy Dame, I mean, it was cool to see her chokeslam. I like that she's going to be beating people with the chokeslam. Cool to see her chokeslam Rizzo. That was cool. But other than that, I didn't care about that at all. I don't care about this faction. I'm not really interested. And then when you flash
sword, and I was realizing it was the wrong one. Oh fuck, that's his name.
Right, that's his name. Like, oh, okay. Well, anyway, about that, because Izzy hasn't been interested since Kiana James is missing. Izzy hasn't been that interesting to me since Kiana James was around, to be honest. But going back, then they flash on this other faction that we don't know who the hell they are. And it's like you showing me. So this is one of those moments where I'm like, that's why NXT, as much as I love it, NXT would never be the first wrestling show I would put on. Like, somebody was a new fan, like, hey, I want to get into this wrestling stuff. I would never be like, let's watch NXT.
I mean, let's watch last week's episode.
Yeah, exactly. If we're gonna watch one, let's watch last week's episode. But because they just threw so much stuff at me that was like, okay, and you just move on. Let's get to the pay-per-view. You know what I'm saying? Like, because what the hell is this?
I think the important thing is what we've learned here is 5 no's mean yes. All right,
oh my God,
what we've got.
That was a horrible lesson.
Isn't that the lesson learned?
That's what happened. Yeah. If you keep asking
keep pestering the woman, she will eventually go onto your side. That's what we've learned here. That's what.
My God.
Yeah. Wow, that was a dark end. Anyway, before we get to prediction, what were your thoughts on NXT this month.
I mean, I hope I don't come off as so overly negative because, like I said, there's a lot of things that I think NXT still do right. There's a lot of things that they do uniquely better than I feel like a lot of other shows do, even though I feel like, it's still a lot of problems. I think that's kind of where you run into with NXT. It's one of those things where you expect some of the issues because it is developmental, but some of the things is not even, it's like past being developmental. Some of it is just, why do I have to watch Ridge Holland in big spots get 2 title shots? You know what I mean? And like, for example, if a cage match can't make your one-on-one encounter better, that tells me a lot. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I didn't want to watch you guys have a regular title match, much less watch you guys in a cage. So
we have a lights out match, like with the lights literally out, like that would be right, yeah.
Exactly. So it's so many little storylines where I'm just like, why do I care? What's going on here? There's so many talent that I'm just still not sure about. But like some of it, you wonder, like, is this just a part of watching because it's developmental? And like some people are just not at the same level, like, because that's the one thing about it's a consistency issue. Sometimes you're watching the Julia stuff and the Bailey and Roxanne stuff, and you're like, this is damn good. What, man, you can't get much better than this. You're watching Last Legend and you're watching that tag match. This is really good. I really love what they're doing. You know what I'm saying? You watch a Ricky Starks, you feel the electric in the promo. You really love it. You watch Oprah Femi whenever he talks or some of his matches, some of the stuff he do, and you just like, that's some of the best stuff. Even Ethan Page's here work, that's some of the best stuff. And then you just go to the rest of it sometimes. Or Fraction. I can't leave Fraction out. Watch what Fraction do. Like, yeah, man, some of the best stuff I watched this week came from NXT. But then you have the countless amount of other questions and things that we've already kind of mentioned in this episode, and it just kind of makes me feel disjointed. And I think that's probably the best way for me to kind of explain how I feel about NXT. Is it enjoyable? 100%. Is it some great stuff going on? Yes. But at the same time, it's just a consistency issue from like not only the males division in a lot of ways, or from some storylines they have going on, but like we mentioned, the male tag division has been kind of lacking in a lot of ways. So yeah, man, it's just one of those situations where you're like having a disjointed watch. I enjoy a chunk of it, but there's also a lot of stuff that I can do without.
Yeah. I think that's bang on, really. Like I said, it's been good stuff, and hopefully it can improve. Like we said, as we've seen with what's happened. But it is Vengeance Day, and we are going to do predictions. There's 6 matches, and again, the build-up for Vengeance Day wasn't too bad. It didn't feel like a must-watch event, maybe. But again, I think it'll be a pretty solid show. We've got 6 matches. I'll start with the one I think is most predictable, which I talked about, was the NXT Women's North American title match. Fallon Henley versus Stephanie Vaquer. Stephanie, since her debut in NXT, has been going the right way. As we know, the relationship with Julia, even that little tease of Stephanie going, well, once I win the title, you'll be the one that
only one way to go.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's interesting. But I think it would be fair to say, as I mentioned earlier, Fallon Henley has done really well with her run with the championship, because maybe it's not something everybody wanted, but it's kind of made another star in the interim, because again, it would have been easy just to be like, oh, Stephanie, but instead, obviously, with Fallon and Kalani Jordan. But I think Vaquer is the right pick, and again, they can just set the stall out of how good this division can be afterwards.
Yeah, I think Stephanie's gonna win the belt. I'm with you. It's just hard for me to pick against her. Maybe we could see another. Maybe they can try to put it off and do like an interference thing. But I honestly feel like trying to sell Fallon Henley and Stephanie in a rematch. Maybe you can add a stipulation, and I can kind of understand. Like Sean, sometimes he swears you. So like I said, you gotta kind of entertain it. But I just really don't see why you would, in my opinion. You already kind of had her take a loss against Shotzi. No offense to Shotzi. I just don't see why we would put it off at all, to me, when you have someone of the caliber. It's kind of like with Julia winning, instead of waiting and winning that stand delivery, they went on ahead and did it, to kick off the year. And I feel like that's kind of the same vein with Stephanie. There's no point, in my opinion, of waiting. We know that they are 2 of the best. And now you make other women not only have to attain their skill level, but also prove that they're worthy of possibly dethroning them if we don't have, like you say, or if we end up not having that encounter where they're both champions and fighting each other, because I can definitely see that possibly happening. I don't know if that's going to be stand and deliver, but I can entertain that. So, and like you mentioned, I want to also give credit to Fallon because she did a good job. I don't really like how she won it because the whole handicap stuff was just kind of stupid, if you ask me. But I do love what she's done as champion. Like you mentioned, has done a good job of just kind of making herself seem like basically the actual star, in my opinion, of their little, their faction. In my opinion, she is the one. That is, she's the Mandy Rose. If we're gonna say this is Toxic Attraction 2.0, she is the one that I feel like is the who is ready and possibly in the upper tier of the women's division also. And I think this match can be good because I think she has the talent to be there. But Stephanie is winning, though, in my opinion.
Yeah. Jay misses out again there. But no, like I said, but I also feel Steph will bring the best out of Fallon. So this might be Henley's best match that we've seen in NXT. Prediction-wise, I've got Gina and Jaxie's as well. Gina's gone for Steph. Jaxie's gone for Fallon Henley. So interesting, Jax. Just saying, might be. Who knows?
Yeah, you never know.
Up next, Javon Evans versus Ethan Page.
Sean has screwed up before.
Blood. Yes, he has. I'm expecting him to at least one match on the card here. But Javon Evans versus Ethan Page. Again, there's a lot of bad blood. But Javon might not be medically cleared. Does that change anything here? He says he is. Is he ready?
I don't know if it changes much. To me, it just sounds like to me that they're kind of already safeguarding his loss. And I don't know, maybe I'm looking at it wrong, and he can just pull out, because he definitely can pull out like like, for example, I think it was, I know his name in WWE, he was like Nash Carter or whatever, but you know what I mean? In that Wes Lee match and situation, the very first encounter, they kind of gave him the victory, even though we kind of was expecting, Wes Lee to be able to do his thing. So, like I said, this definitely, I'm trying to entertain the opposite thought process, but I just, in my opinion, I feel like when you point out that he's not cleared, how does it make Ethan Page look, even if he beats him down again after the match? We've seen that twice. I think it'll be more effective to have Ethan Page to come out the victory. It'd be kind of showcased that he wasn't ready to be back, and then we have a situation where maybe in due time Javon can get his victory back, either whether it's make stand and deliver weekend or before on an episode of NXT. But I don't necessarily see Javon Evans getting the victory, even though I understand if they went that route. I just think with the momentum they're trying to build up for Ethan Page, in my opinion, as this threat and being more, just being dangerous, I don't necessarily know if Javon Evans coming back and beating him makes sense to me. But I'm gonna go Ethan Page. But if you can convince me Javon should get the victory, then give a shot at it.
Well, Gina's gone Evans. Jaxie has gone for Page in that one. And again, I was a bit stuck because I'm thinking, Javon, babyface win. But again, not giving away my predictions for the rest of the night. I'd like to see what faces and heels are winning. And every single face winning on the card doesn't happen. So exactly. I know there's going to be something somewhere. So I think with Page, I'm going to go with him here. But again, Monty, my worry is Javon rolls him up for quick three and then Page attacks afterwards to get his heat back.
Exactly.
Which I think would just take it away from the story and what we're doing with Ethan,
Yeah, and that's my thing. Like, I'm with you. I think if it's going to happen, it's going to be one of those shock, oh my goodness, Javon pulled it out, even though he was getting beat a majority of the match, and he gets attacked again. But like you mentioned, he's already beaten him and put him, and beat him down as much as he can. Like, what are we really gaining from having him attack him again after the match? And I mean, maybe we can do a stipulation blow off or something, and that can explain it away. And that's probably exactly how this could go. But I'm, like you mentioned, I like the more of just establishing Ethan Page as still being dangerous, maybe even taking some liberties to cheat also, make Salt in the Room even better. I mean, even bigger instead of just also beating them down. So we'll see. But yeah, I'm gonna stick with the heel here. But I'm with you, James. If it is gonna go that way, it's gonna go in one of those ways where Javon wins, but it doesn't feel like he won because he's gonna get beat down.
Yeah, without a doubt. Up next, strap match. Trick Williams versus Eddie Thorpe. And, of course, these two guys have got bad blood dating back. I mean, Trick might actually blame Eddie Thorpe for the losing of the NXT title, even though he was the one that was pinned. We've seen a bit different attitude for Trick, and I think we'll see the attitude in this matchup. I mean, Thorpe, you could argue, needs the victory more, but I think Trick coming off the loss and again showing a bit maybe fire in this, but you can't be disqualified in a strap match. I was Googling because I was like, I don't want something fucking stupid like that. Like, he's, referee reversing because Trick beat Eddie up too much, But again, I think this will be a fun match, and we are going to see what Trick can do with Eddie Thorpe. And I think Eddie can, again, bring the best out of him.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. I think my thing is, and maybe this is just more of a biased sounding take, because I'm pretty sure it can come off this way, but honestly, I think Trick needs to. Like, I don't really know if I've ever seen a situation where a guy like Trick, who's in the position that Trick was in my opinion, would need a victory more. I think Eddie Thorpe has already kind of gotten the rub of being in the top of tier, being in the top tier, fighting for the NXT title, doing what he did to Trick Williams, in the past, and now being where he at now. I honestly just don't see a situation, and maybe I'm wrong here, but I just don't see a situation where Trick Williams can afford to lose this. And like you mentioned, they've already kind of showed more of a mean streak. I think this is the time to show Trick Williams willing to go to that too far, maybe to a point to where people look at it as too far. And we start to see, again, I don't think Trick needs as much of a mean streak as like a Kalani Jordan, but it would be nice to see him go to another place instead of being so too cool for school, so to speak, as Trick has always been. So, yeah, I think Trick Williams has to win this one, so I'm going with
Trick. I didn't know how long his hair was. I don't want to sound weird, but I saw Trick with his hair the other day, and I was like, I didn't know it was that long, man. Like, fair fucking play. And we're not talking about that. We're talking about predictions, yeah. So Trick there for you, and Trick for Gina and Jaxie as well. Up next, I'm going to leave that one. So we'll do NXT Women's Championship. Julia versus Bayley versus Roxanne Perez versus Cora Jade. Fatal 4-way. What we know, Monty, is that this is going to be a hell of a lot of fun. I assume it could open the show, but conceivably this could main event and might be the bigger match as well. And again, we talked about the interactions between Roxanne and Bayley. Of course, Julia involved there. Will Cora Jade get pinned, or will that kind of save her for later on? Will this be Perez's last, NXT PLE match? There's loads of questions going in here. And again, it could spring a surprise, and Bayley could walk out as NXT Women's Championship, and I wouldn't be that surprised.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of mentioned Charlotte coming back to NXT. I know she won the Royal Rumble, but like Charlotte's done it, Becky's done it. So I mean, Bayley coming back for another run would not be so against character, if you know what I mean, of the past. But I honestly just don't know how I could pick, even in the most one match, that you can come up with a lot of scenarios in your head like you just did, James. But I just really don't see how much sense I could see in giving Julia the big victory that she got, and then letting the belt move from here. I don't know. I mean, it's possible. And like you mentioned, like you said, seeing a Bayley walk out would be a exciting moment and a nice little twist. And we know how much Sean loves to kind of throw these twist scenarios or twists into these shows. So I wouldn't be as shocked like you mentioned, James. But at the same time, I just think Julia getting a big victory against three worthy contenders, like you mentioned, probably save Cora Jade to not get pinned. I mean, she could get pinned, and I don't think we'll be, I don't think if she end up getting a single title shot later, it would be a surprise. But I think it'll be a better story if she doesn't get pinned. Maybe you do pin Roxanne again or something, due to something because of Bayley or something like that, or vice versa, and that can set up a Bayley Roxanne encounter. But at the same time, Julia continues to keep her belt, moves forward. Like you said, maybe to Cora Jade or a plethora of contenders. Hell, we might even get Jordan Grace pop up out of nowhere and want a title shot against Julia for Stand and Deliver. I don't think either one of us would be mad at that. So, who knows what could possibly happen before we get to Stand and Deliver. But I think right now, Julia's the safest bet. And but I think, like you mentioned, everything you just said, this is my match of the night. If this went last, I don't think I can make an argument that it didn't deserve it, because as much as I like what Oba's doing and I love Theory and Waller as heels, I just don't see how I just don't see how Julia, and I don't see how this is not the marquee type match in my opinion of the show. But you're right, it can either go first or it can go last. Either way it go, I feel like if it does go first, I really can't wait to see who decides to follow that and how they try to pick up the pace, because I think this is going to be really good.
Excuse me. Well, let's talk about if it does go first. There's one reason I haven't put it in the main event. I'll explain it in a second. And if you could follow the opening with anything, it would be a Fraxium matchup this time versus Josh Briggs and Yoshiki Inamura. And Monty, this is the one I'm struggling with because, I know Fraxium are fine. I know. But again, it's the relationship Briggs and his partner have, and if you say Inamura has with the kind of what is it? Noah? Is it Noah in Japan? It's the relationship.
Yeah, Noah.
He's come from Noah.
Yeah.
And again, Omos won the title there, so maybe a little bit of kind of, oh look, your guy wins the title, just to maybe lose it back to Fraxium on the next NXT, But my issue is that they've only had one match as a tag team on NXT television, so I don't know if I can. So at the moment, I've gone one way, but, I mean, what are you thinking? Because it's true, isn't it? This is what Sean does, especially at, takeovers.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat as you in that regard, to where it definitely made me want to think about it. And even just from the standpoint of, not only the Noah, I didn't even really factor in the Noah relationship, even though now that you mention it, it makes total sense. Definitely something to consider with the Noah relationship. But in my opinion, I think that the reason why is one of those things to think about too is just like you mentioned, it's so many reasons why if they decided to go against it, I can understand or make it make sense. And I can see how, because we just mentioned the tag division needs something else. It needs somebody besides Fraxium at the top. And my whole thing is that if you're gonna do that, what better way than to pull the trigger on this team? But you mentioned it, James. They've only been on television one time together. And it's just given that type of victory, I feel like after everything Fraxium has done, giving that type of big victory to a team that has yet to establish themselves individually would be, I don't want to say a mistake, but I just don't know if that leaves a good taste in my mouth personally. So, yeah, I'm going with Fraxium retaining. And another thing, too, I have picked against them before. I thought that this was going to be over. Every time I sit here and convince myself that this is over, they win. So this time I'm just going to play it safe. And if they lose, then, I'll just be like, I just could never predict how that Fraxium would go down. But I honestly also feel like, too, and this is just me, I mentioned the multi-man tag match at Stand and Deliver. I feel like if you're going to do it. If they're going to lose and Stand and Deliver. It don't have to be a multi-man ladder match like I mentioned, but I can see it going down that way and allow somebody to make a name for themselves like that. And that's kind of like the way I look at it. Let somebody make a name for themselves on the biggest NXT stage you can be on. And I feel like that's probably the best way to do it.
Yeah. Well, I've gone Fraxium. My heart has outruled my head. Should say for the girls as well, they went Judy, and last one if I didn't mention it. They've both gone for new tag team champions. They've gone for Briggs and Inamura. So again, it's the same. It's going to happen, And then last match we're going to talk about, like I said, don't know if it's going to be the main event or not. NXT Championship triple threat: Obafemi versus Austin Theory versus Grayson Waller. We again kind of know what the result's going to be, not to be kind of overconfident or whether it is like this. Oba just winning the title. The main reason for me, I might think this will be the main event, is because of the mysterious group. They said they're going to be at Vengeance Day. Will they show up after Oba, retains to beat him down? It might not be that match, but again, it would make the biggest impact.
Yeah, definitely. And I think a next is like Obafemi attack too, because somebody like Oba who's been so unstoppable. I don't know who the group is, but like I think a great way to kind of like just like we're back in the John Cena days, a big way to do it. I don't know if they need to tear up the entire set or anything, but it'll definitely be interesting to see if they could come out after the match, or like we mentioned, could they be working with Ethan Page, who we may have seen earlier. He may not get help in his match with Javon. Maybe he can lead this new group, because it would be nice to see someone who we can automatically look at as a championship threat be in this group, unless it's something that we don't know. So we'll see. I'm with you, but I think that's probably the best case for it being in the main event. And you mentioned being overconfident, but let's just be honest, man. It's over Femi, bro. Like, was any time to be,
man.
it was any time to be overconfident. It's really when you're picking his matches, because as much as I like it, I think you kind of already spelled it out. I mean, we know it. They already have issues. We already see the crowd trying to turn Theory against, Wall. They teased it to death. They might not officially break up, but I do think winning the singles heavyweight championship that neither one of those guys won in their run in NXT is going to come in the way. I mean, it's going to get in the way. And Obafemi is already, I mean, you got to think about it. I don't care. We watched this already into like a couple triple threat matches already in the past for Obafemi. It's hard to take him down in general. So if you're not on the same page, you know what's going to happen. He's going to take advantage. He's going to probably stack them both in the end. And then maybe the lights go out and we see the new group.
Yeah. Well, there we go. So we've all gone over there. So the last question I'll ask you before we go, it's no bonus points for anything underlined, but I just thought in my head, like, worst and best case scenario for like the group would be just like Sean Spears or just like these D1 athletes I don't recognize. Best case for me, I'd fucking love this if they ended up being the system from TNA and it was Moose spearing fucking Obafemi, setting up that match. But again, I might be dreaming too hard. Monty, what are your thoughts? Is it going to end in disappointment with this reveal?
It depends. Yeah, it depends on where your thoughts hit. I'm glad you already kind of said the possible 4 D1 athlete people that you don't know, because that was my thought the whole time. That's why I was trying to say, people, calm down saying Shield 2.0. What, you getting your hopes up way too high. These gonna be 4 guys you don't recognize. That's why I was saying maybe somebody we already know could be in the group also, or like you mentioned, like I didn't even think about Moose, and because we haven't even seen him, and now they have an official deal. Would it be the time to embark on having the entire system there together? So yeah, man, maybe that's the way to go. I wouldn't be opposed to that. That's one way to do it. I'm not really sure about the system's aesthetic. I don't know how much the mask and stuff is actually a part of what they
nothing
do.
like they've got.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So so far, I mean, it'll be to WWE fans, they wouldn't have to explain why they're dressing up different, I guess, all of a sudden. But again, it'd be interesting to see. I'm expecting something. Either we're gonna, like you said, either we're gonna be people we have no clue who it is, or we're gonna at least recognize one person and be like, okay.
Unless it's like Ricky Starks, Aleister Black, and fucking Miro.
And see, again, that's why I'm not doing that.
Don't get carried away.
Yeah, keep your expectations low. Even though it would be nice. As a matter of fact, you said Ricky Starks. It don't even have to have that. I think just Malachi Black with 3 other tattooed, guys with the lights cut out. That fits the aesthetic. Just having him return out of nowhere with that type of look, even though people will be disappointed probably that he's back in NXT, he does not have to be there long if he can, help these other guys along fast enough, in my opinion, possibly, depending on what we have going. But yeah, I think like you mentioned, it's going to be interesting to see what direction they decide to go, because I think either way it goes, the men's division is going to need something. So I just hope it's not too disappointing. Like you mentioned, I think the worst case scenario, like we mentioned, is possibly like 4 guys that we don't know who the hell they are. And we're just like, oh, okay. So.
Yeah, but then again,
we'll see.
I mean, our job is to get people excited. And if I'm excited for Vengeance Day, I'm sure people listening are as well. So I think we've done a good job there. And
if they are 4 strangers and they do something cool, though, that might change it. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
another thing too. If it's 4 strings and they actually do something we never seen before, we might have to we might have to take it back.
Well, we won't. Like I said, the next NXT update won't be too far away. It'll be, I think, 2 or 3 weeks, and we'll do Vengeance Day, so everybody can hear our reactions there. So we're going to find out. But I think that is it today, Monty. I don't think there's anything else NXT. I think we've covered everything.
Everything and some. So I think we're doing good.
Perfect. Well, don't forget, because all social media, X at the WNR Podcast, I'm at the WNR Pod James. You can find the entire WNR team on the Twitter banner. Also now on Blue Sky, WNR Podcast, and Reddit. Monty, where can people find and follow you?
Like you mentioned on the Twitter banner, at MyMontyPod on Twitter, you guys. I just want to let everybody know that if you decide to tweet me out of nowhere your unsolicited opinion, I will troll you with mostly not a response, because if I'm not, we can debate all day, but don't walk up here telling me something that I didn't ask you to. Like, if I ask a question, let's talk. But I'm just saying, I'm just letting you know, I'm going to troll you.
I think the issue is, and again, the WNR have been on Facebook and Instagram a little bit more. I've seen your Twitter been blowing up recently as well. And of course, we did a lot of stuff on YouTube. And again, it's great to get likes and praise. But yeah, man, if it's our opinion, it's our opinion. Like, there's not a lot. You know, there's a few things I put up where something gone, no, this ain't right. I go, yeah, but I'm saying it. So even if I'm not, this is what I believe. Is it, you know, exactly. I mean, the whole point of fucking free speech.
If we're talking about the red and yellow old guy, we're talking about Terry. There's nothing you can say that's gonna make me ease up on Terry. So please don't say that. Don't think you're gonna stop me from giving Terry shit. But anyway.
Yeah. But no, if you've got a big issue, email us, the WNRpodcast@gmail.com, and fucking bring it, you know? But like I said, we've got lots of stuff on YouTube, on SoundCloud, on your phone, also Spotify and iTunes, where you can download, subscribe, rate and review there. Our next episode is AEW Catch Up. Oh, what a fucking step down that will be. After all this. I'm joking, guys. Jaxie and Gina love it. It'll be fine. We've got AEW, Grand Slam, and all that stuff, so it'll be good. Yeah, I'm
not gonna say this. They think I hate AEW, and I'm not even gonna argue with people. Just think what you want to think. Think I waste my time watching this crap if I hate it? Anyway.
Well, until then, I've been James Rowlands, and I was joined by the mind of Monty. Monty, thank you very much again for another NXT update.
Welcome. You're welcome. Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure, never a chore. And thanks for listening, everybody. And bye.